The following program contains graphic images that may be disturbing. Parents are advised that these images may not be suitable for young children.
The doctors investigate DIY cosmetic procedures, the risks.
If any one of us did what you were doing, we would actually be arrested.
You should not be doing this at home.
Injection imposters.
They can make something look identical.
The victims.
It's like there's rocks under my skin. My skin rotted off.
It's DIY versus the doctors.
I'm the one who called the FDA on you.
That's today.
We're in the midst of a cosmetic treatment revolution. In fact, nearly 16 million people in the U.S. got a minimally invasive cosmetic procedure performed in 2018. But how far would you go for a smoother face or plumper lips? Our investigative producer, Leslie Marcus, reports on how people are taking matters and needles into their own hands.
The internet is ripe with online tutorials where you can learn just about anything. But here's a new trend. People are DIYing their own invasive cosmetic procedures, and they're using doctors' training videos to find out the techniques. People are going to foreign websites that will ship everything you need to do these procedures in the comfort of your own home, including centrifuges to spin your own blood and do blood facials, Botox, fillers, lasers. They're non-FDA approved, and they could actually be counterfeit. You might think that this is just a few people on the fringes that are performing these procedures on themselves, but it's thousands of people. Here's a private Facebook group with members that are sharing tips and techniques on how to inject their own faces, perform their own lasers, and do their own blood facials. And they're rooting each other on. In an age where beauty is paramount, is this really as far as people are willing to go?
Leslie, thank you for joining us.
Leslie, our investigative producer, is revealing more craziness. So talk to us about some of the revelations from this investigation.
Well, first off, I want to say that I definitely understand the allure of this DIY cosmetic procedure trend. Many years ago, before I worked here, I actually experienced this as well. A good friend of mine worked at a doctor's office, brought home a chemical peel kit, medical grades, like super easy, just mix it up, put it on your face. I did, and I severely burned my skin. I didn't think it was ever gonna heal. And I would say that the biggest change today is the ease of accessibility of these products. It is so pervasive online. These companies are marketing from overseas, fillers, Botox-type compounds, all sorts of stuff, and they're doing it even on Facebook, which really blew my mind. So these companies are offering gift cards to customers. They're using promo codes for US holidays, right? So you know that they're marketing to people in the US these non-FDA approved products. And you even have influencers that are showing their product hauls from these websites of non-FDA approved products, so you know they're not being marketed to medical professionals.
When Dr. Orden or I or any physician, nurse, physician assistant who's licensed is buying these products, botulinum toxin, filler, we have to have medical licenses. I've been practicing for 15 years as a specialist in dermatology. When Allergan, the maker of Botox and many fillers, introduced a new filler, for me to place an order for their new filler, I had to actually do additional training. So the irony is you have all these websites selling things that are not FDA approved, that are from abroad, and someone without any medical training whatsoever can just go online and buy it. So that's the critical difference.
Honestly, I'm a physician. In no world would I ever try to inject myself with any of these things. So talk about that gray area now.
So there's this new gray area of cosmetic procedures that's popping up. You have stay-at-home moms, you have beauticians, hairstylists, they all want in on this cosmetic procedure pie, if you will. And they're using products like this. So these are big overseas. This one in particular, it's the Hyaluron pen. And so the pool is that it is a non-injectable filler device that basically uses high pressure to shoot hyaluronic acid into various areas of the face. And basically they make it sound super easy, but you say that, Dr. Botched, this isn't without risk.
Correct, and so just because this particular device is supposedly needleless, that's how they're getting around this gray area. But it is incredibly high-pressured piston-like device to push this same hyaluronic acid, which certainly we know as a filler can cause bruising, it can cause swelling, you can still put a lot of pressure on those blood vessels, which can offset upset the blood supply. You see here a photo of tremendous bruising from this. This certainly is not without risk. And just for anyone to be able to buy it, you bought this online, it was delivered in 2 days.
2 days.
It's crazy to me. And the other thing is, at least when a medical professional buys hyaluronic acid, you know that that actual product is FDA approved. It's been vetted not to be contaminated. It's been vetted to that it actually is what it's saying to be. When I went online and I looked at what they even were using with this gun, it wasn't a US product, it was from abroad. Who knows how it's shipped, how it's stored, what you're even getting before you put it in your face with bacteria, yes.
And what if people are reusing these ampules? How do you know?
It's not a clean, sterile thing to do, especially because then you're pushing it under the surface of your skin. You're talking about boils and abscesses in that situation.
How much was something like that cost?
Well, I picked up the gun for about $59. And you have to understand that these ampules, they come empty. So you can literally fill whatever you want in this. You could fill topical hyaluronic acid, people might do, and they might charge a ton of money, and they're using a bottle that costs them $10.
So you're filling
these come empty. Exactly.
yourself?
These are empty right now.
So Drew and I are cringing because of all the bacteria that
now
could go
Drew's
into
fired
those.
up.
Well, I had no clue that this was going on. DIY, people at home buying this stuff, trying to treat themselves. I had no clue.
And we are just getting started on all of this. This is the tip of the iceberg. Leslie sat down with the ringleader of this DIY movement who's showing tens of thousands of people how to perform cosmetic procedures on their own faces.
Thank you for joining me, Kim.
Thank you for having me, Leslie.
So what do people call you online?
I had one subscriber call it my rebellious skincare channel.
So tell me, Kim, what made you want to do all of these cosmetic procedures on yourself?
Maybe it's a bit of naivety on my part. I felt like there was enough information online. I was getting tired of making appointments. I felt like these things were things that I could pretty much do myself.
You've come this far. Why not just become a nurse or a doctor?
There are so many tutorial videos on YouTube. I guess I could watch a video on how to change my oil, and does that qualify me to work at Jiffy Lube? I don't know, but does that mean that I can change it for myself at home? Yeah.
What made you want to share the knowledge that you have with thousands of other people who watch your channel?
I kind of knew on my YouTube channel if I released a microneedling video, they might get some attention. I just had no idea how big the community of DIY skin enthusiasts really was.
This is really popular. You have thousands of people on your Facebook group.
It's definitely this segment of society that I think is much larger than anybody realizes.
Do you think people are better off injecting themselves?
It's a skill, if you will. Like anything, you get better the more you do it. Injectable nurses get better because they're doing it all day long. I get a lot of comments where people are like, I'm so done dropping $1,200, $1,500 every 3 months to get my filler and Botox. Tell me where I can get it. I'm just gonna do it myself. We buy out of Korea, and I found a site, so I ordered the first one. I thought it looked good.
These are non-FDA approved products. How do you know they're safe?
The only thing I can say is that I've injected it in my face and I stopped wrinkling. But I will say that I take some precautions. I will inject a little bit into my arm to see like, how does my skin tolerate it, kind of test before I ever go to my face. I hope that the content I put out shows not only the procedure, but also shows the negative side of it.
Any concern there where it's the layperson teaching the layperson?
Usually people are getting advice from people who have done it a few times, and then those people feel like they can tell them, this was my experience.
Tell me about the shame people experience.
You do feel like you don't want to talk about it because people like have such an adverse impulse to what you're saying. They just cannot believe you would do that. And then I go to my community of like-minded soul sisters, and they're like, yes.
But you are training people in a way.
Yeah, I think there's enough information out there to get by.
You did tell me last night you did a Botox facial and you injected yourself by your eye and got a little bruise there.
I did, I got a little bruise. Things like that happen, and I shared it in the group. I always want the negative side seen just as fast as the positive.
At the end of the day, people are looking at you and they're like, she looks great. I want to do what she's doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same mentality of going to the casino, right? Everybody bypasses the reality that they're probably gonna lose a lot of money for that concept that maybe they could win big. Hopefully, by understanding the risks, you mitigate your loss and you do come out with favorable results.
We'll meet Kim after the break. Coming up,
Aren't you playing Russian roulette with your own face?
it's not just Russian roulette with yourself. It's basically anybody watching you.
Plus,
If any one of us did what you were doing, we would actually be arrested.
that's coming up. Coming tomorrow. He's rubbed elbows with Kobe and LeBron, but cancer sidelined him.
The weight started piling on. Now I was heavier than the players I was covering.
How he shed over 100 pounds. That's tomorrow.
Dr. Phil's newest podcast series, Relationship Reality Check,
Everybody wants to improve their sex life. I don't care how good it is.
with Dr. Justin Lehmiller.
You talked about the 7 most common fantasies in America.
When people are told they can't or shouldn't do something, that makes them want to do it even more.
The research.
I've had people talk a lot about open marriages.
Different things work for different people.
That would get a black eye.
Fill in the blanks. Episodes 1 through 4 now available on Apple Podcast and Stitcher.
The internet is ripe with online tutorials where you can learn just about anything. But here's a new trend. People are DIYing their own invasive cosmetic procedures. So tell me, Kim, what made you want to do all of these cosmetic procedures on yourself?
Maybe it's a bit of naivety on my part. I felt like there was enough information online. I was getting tired of making appointments. I felt like these things were things that I could pretty much do myself. I get a lot of comments where people are like, I'm so done dropping $1,200, $1,500 every 3 months to get my filler and Botox. Tell me where I can get it. I'm just gonna do it myself.
We're back exposing a new trend that has people skipping the doctor's office and performing cosmetic procedures on themselves. Kim, a self-proclaimed skincare rebel who's spearheading this DIY movement, joins us now. And Kim, I just want to ask you, at what point did you say, I am going to start just doing this all myself?
Sure. So I'm a mom of 4 boys, and I had them back to back. And I was tired of making appointments and then, frankly, paying a lot for those appointments. And once I realized all this stuff was kind of available online, I just felt like I could do it.
And Kim, by your own admission in your videos, you're not in any way an esthetician, a hairstylist, a nurse, a doctor. Like, you really have no formal beauty training at all, correct?
Correct, yeah. I mean, it's 100% my own skincare journey. I mean, I think I've always felt empowered, be it whatever I wanted to look into and do. And after I had these procedures done quite a few times by professionals, and also I had been a guinea pig for somebody training at one point too, I kind of knew that they were going about it troubleshooting and learning themselves, and I felt, I think I can do this, I can read enough, I can figure it out.
Well, that being said, how comfortable can you feel with understanding the anatomy of the skin, the anatomy of the muscles below the skin? Probably the single biggest thing is the anatomy of the blood vessels feeding the skin, because if you inject in the wrong place, you get into an artery, you really are setting yourself up to lose large areas of skin that are getting their blood supply. So, and then on top of that, infections. So how do you justify that in your own mind? Aren't you playing Russian roulette with your own face?
Certainly. I mean, it's a calculated risk, right? Like, I have had injections done in doctors' offices that have been successful. I've paid very close attention. And so I felt like my risk level was calculated.
So, but Kim, I understand the risk level being calculated when it comes to your own face. But by your own admission, you're posting these videos to train other DIYers, both on your private group and on your YouTube channel, so that they feel really comfortable. So it's not just Russian roulette with yourself. It's basically anybody watching you who then feels similarly empowered that this is a benign, easy thing to do. You even made a comment in one of your videos that you'd never put a syringe together, you'd never put a needle on, and then you proceeded to put filler right above your lip. I mean, if someone else watching that feels like, well, I've watched Kim's video, now I'm going to do that, and they were to suffer a devastating necrosis, they were to go blind, which are all real complications of fillers on the face.
And in those same
how
videos.
Responsible, what's the liability for you?
Right. So in all those videos, I also say, like, lots of disclaimers. I say, like, look, this stuff is out there. This is my own skincare journey. I'm not saying that just because I had a favorable outcome, you will as well. And it's not like I'm knocking on people's doors saying, hey, I've got syringes. They search the terms, they're finding me, right? So they're already along this path. They're already doing this or thinking about doing this.
Basically, by not being trained, you also don't take on the same risks that a healthcare provider does. And that's what bothers me. If Dr. Botched or someone else who's trained puts a video out there and there's a complication, they're going to get sued.
Correct.
But
we would get arrested
because you
and
can
then
claim,
lose our licenses,
I don't
to be
know
clear.
anything. I'm just trying this out, and someone kills themselves. You're like, well, I didn't know. I'm just a mom.
I understand that point, and I grapple with that point too. But do you think that somehow people searched out my channel and were like, oh, this is what this girl does? Oh, now I'm going to do this? They were already doing it.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about something else. Your channel is one thing, but your closed Facebook group is a whole other thing. And I was in that group for a while, and there's a real cheerleader mentality going on there where the lay person is teaching the lay person and giving medical advice to each other about product safety and injection techniques. I mean, do you think that you're inspiring people to go inject themselves with this private Facebook group?
I don't want to be the person that brings it to their attention and drives them to do something that they weren't already on the path to do themselves.
But do you admit that you are? I mean, you're the facilitator here.
I think people who go on Google and search how to do a 25 or 30% TCA peel and my video pops up, they were already planning on doing that.
But then if they become a member of your Facebook group and they see all these other people, there are thousands of people on your Facebook group that are saying, I just did my first injections last night, and everybody else coming with memes and saying, good job, you inspire me to go do it tomorrow night.
And I think to your point, when the most concerning thing that I've seen is when people have complications, this group mentality of not seeking medical advice or treatment. You had a gentleman who said he thought he had injected into a nerve and a blood vessel. What should I do? And then the whole series of responses was at-home remedies. And not one person said, you know, this could actually be devastating for you. Go see a doctor, go to the ER, get appropriate care. Because it is this sort of closed, clubby forum where they're egging each other on.
His concern was that he injected too shallow and he could see the line of filler. I don't think his concern was that he actually injected into a vessel. And if he had said that, I would have said immediately go.
Let's take a moment here because we do need to go to break. And obviously there's a lot more to tease out here. And I know one of your biggest concerns, Dr. Botched, is the risks. Dr. Botched actually looked at Kim's DIY videos. We're going to hear her analysis after the break. Coming up.
We can debate, is it right or wrong, all day long. I understand your platform. I understand the risks and the concern you have. What I'm saying is this community exists with or without me.
Then.
What you did is absolutely horrifying. And let me tell you something. You are marketing an illegal product to people who know nothing about what they're doing. I'm the one who called the FDA on you.
That's coming up. We're continuing to unpack a growing trend of DIYing risky cosmetic procedures. Kim, a self-proclaimed skincare rebel, is taking us inside this underground world. We had Dr. Botched take a look at some of the DIY videos that Kim's posted on her YouTube channel, and I'm just going to go ahead and let you share some of your thoughts.
Sure. So the first video that I looked at, Kim, was your video of self-filler injection, where as you took it out of the box, you mentioned you had never put a needle on or assembled a syringe, and here you go. In this one, you're kind of showing that it was a very hard injection, that you weren't expecting that much resistance, so you started repositioning. And as I was watching you, I was really concerned because there is actually an artery that runs in that area called your superior labial artery, and I was really worried you were going to hit it. I was really anxious that someone else watching you was going to replicate this technique and have vascular occlusion. and it's going to be a devastating outcome. There you're scratching your head, putting your hair back with your gloved hands, and then going back to injection. There's bacteria. That's not a sterile technique. The other thing you're doing is you're putting your hand in your mouth where there's also a lot of bacteria, and then going back to injection without ever wiping off with alcohol, without ever changing gloves, at least that I saw.
I agree that there were probably some sanitary issues there, and there were things that I could have done differently. Like in my private Facebook group and some nurses who are in there, they're like, oh, you should change the needle after a few points, it'll make it sharper. And things like that, that obviously I didn't know.
There are so many things that are being done wrong in that video that I'm shuddering too. The single biggest thing, infection, potentially cellulitis that could lead to sepsis and potentially death.
In the end, we can debate, is it right or wrong all day long, right? I understand your platform. I understand the risks and the concern you have. I'm not saying they're not valid. What I'm saying is this community exists with or without me, because all of these products are out there and they're easier and easier to find when people are running Facebook ads to sell them. So what are we going to do? Are we going to close our minds and forget and keep them in the closet? Or are we going to try to figure out a way to support this community and give them more guidance and more training?
To support that in any shape or form is wrong.
But it's not going away.
Well, that's why we're doing this show, and we want to make it crystal clear, you should not be doing this at home.
So let's continue the conversation. We're gonna, coming up next, meet a cosmetic nurse who's fixing botched DIY procedures.
Coming up.
What you did is absolutely horrifying. And let me tell you something. You are marketing an illegal product to people who know nothing about what they're doing. I'm the one who called the FDA on you.
Plus.
What if it's a bad batch? What if it was stored improperly?
I can't control what people do. You cannot control people's bad, risky behavior.
But you can't fuel it and abet it either. You can't give them the manual for bad behavior as well.
That's coming up.
Closed captioning provided by We're taking you inside the world of DIY cosmetic procedures with our investigative producer, Leslie, and her interview subject, Kim, who is spearheading this movement. Also joining us now is Julie, a cosmetic nurse. And Julie, thank you for being here. You've been listening to some of the conversation. I just want you to comment on, from your perspective, when you see what Kim is doing in this online community, what are your thoughts?
When I first saw your video of you doing your lips, my heart leapt to my chest because all I can think about is the countless people mutilating themselves and destroying their lives. So I reached out to you on social media, and right away I said, I pleaded with you, please take your video down because somebody's gonna get hurt. A lot of somebody's could be hurt. And you called me a hater, and then you blocked me. So I reached out to my injector trainer community where we're very, very tight, and I said, please help me get through to Kim. This is really horrible. And they saw your video and they all reached out to you with love, with compassion. And you called them names as well and you blocked them as well. So I just thought about it, and I'm the one who called the FDA on you.
I've never heard from the FDA.
They're on the case. And then the community, our community made all kinds of phone calls to the State Board of Nursing, the State Medical Board. We called MERS. So together we got your video taken down.
Yeah, I know.
What you did is absolutely horrifying. And let me tell you something. You are marketing an illegal product to people who know nothing about what they're doing. And marketing an illegal product is extremely dangerous.
I'm not marketing any specific product.
How are you gonna feel, Kim? How are you gonna feel when a little girl who's really insecure, 14 years old.
I don't let 14
how are you gonna,
girls in my group.
What about YouTube?
What about your YouTube?
What about YouTube? Wait, let me finish. What about this 14-year-old girl hates this bump in her nose, and she goes and fixes it with whatever she bought online, with Foxy whatever, and then she puts it in her nose, and her nose rots off. Her life is destroyed. What are you going to say to that?
Yeah, I don't want that happening. And
then
so
don't put videos on YouTube.
Wait a minute. Am I the only one who has filler or Botox videos on YouTube?
You're the only one who knows nothing about what you're doing.
There are other people who are unlicensed with videos on YouTube.
You're the only one that I saw, and I don't know if I see another one with somebody else, I will call the FDA.
Why don't you just search them up on YouTube because you'll see plenty of others.
I'm busy, but our community is all together. We will do whatever it takes to do.
Your community was actually extremely vile to me. So when you paint this, that you reached out to me in some kind, loving form. Maybe you personally did.
I definitely did.
But I had so much attack from your community, be it on Instagram, be it on YouTube. I was all day long blocking vile comments from these injectable nurses.
And Julie, I know you personally were kind of fueled to do this because you had a terrible experience, even with an experienced injector, correct? Can you share that a little bit?
So I don't know if you know, but my left side of my cheek actually was injected by a very qualified, beautiful, wonderful, trained, skilled injector. And she got into my infraorbital artery and my skin died and it rotted off. So half of my face looked like a slab of pizza for a year. And so that's when I decided then and there I was either gonna do something else with my career. I'd been injecting 11 years at that time, and this is 9 years ago. I was either gonna do something else with my career, or I was gonna dedicate my career to safety and to teaching people good techniques and safe techniques so that nobody else ever suffers losing half of their face. Because it is horrifying to feel like a monster and still go on with your life. You know, little kids would look at me and go, "What's wrong with your face?" And I would just cry. And you don't know what that feels like until you go through it.
And Julie, I want to step in and just comment that I'm an emergency medicine physician. What I see are when things go wrong. You don't see that. And that's, I feel for you. There's a small part of me that's like, Kim, I get it. You're a mother of 4 and you want to take things into your own hands, and I get that. But when you don't have to deal with the complications I think it changes your perception a little bit. It's a little more fun, quite frankly. It's not fun when you're on the other side of it. And I just want to let you know, I think that's where Julie's coming from. I don't think she's attacking you at all. It's again, trying to highlight when you see the complications, you become passionate in a different way. And I think what you're hearing people plead with you is, in order to minimize risk, the only people doing this should be trained individuals. And I think that's the concern.
Your face was messed up by a trained individual.
And that's the point. It can happen. It can happen no matter what.
How did I learn? How did I get to the point where I felt comfortable doing this to myself? I went on YouTube and I watched a myriad of other doctors doing it. And guess what? The one thing that they never talked about when they were showing how to inject lips or anything else in the face, they never once talked about vascular occlusions. Guess what my video did? 100% showed all of the horrific side effects you can get from injecting an artery with hyaluronic acid.
But here's the thing, even experienced injectors, they do enough, they will see a complication. And it is gonna be that teenage girl who inadvertently, like you said in your video, next I'm doing around my eyes and my temples, huge risk sites for blindness, necrosing half of your nose. This is going to happen, and the only difference, sadly, is that what she's saying, she reported you to the nursing board, the medical board. The only reason they can't come after you is because you're not really trained and licensed as a nurse or a doctor. But any one of us, we would have been prosecuted at this point. So you're operating in this gray zone without liability. The doctors who are online doing these videos, just like you, to get more subscribers and more likes, should take down those videos. I don't post any public training videos. I think that shouldn't be the case. I'm sure Julie doesn't as well.
Well, actually, I need to play devil's advocate because, Julie, you do post a lot of training videos. And are you going to change your ways now? Because you know these DIYers are looking at your videos and they're learning from people like you.
Well, I'm just going to say I don't think you've ever seen any of my videos because my videos are solidly around safety and about injection techniques that are safer. And I say disclaimers, do not do this at home. Do not buy fake product on the internet because those products are forever a lot of times and you can't get rid of them.
If you are doing amazing safety videos, then put them on YouTube and on Google so that they're more searchable. Instagram is not a good place for them because they're not searchable.
I just want to know, do you have any fear that what you're purchasing is counterfeit? The counterfeit market is ripe right now. They can copy anything. Their printing mechanisms are so advanced that they can make something look identical to a product in your office. Is there any fear?
Certainly, there's always that concern, right? Like, because there's no way of vetting it honestly, truly. And so one of the things that I rely a lot on is other people's previous experience and talking to them and where they bought it from and what they experienced from that specific
product. What if it's a bad batch? What if it was stored improperly?
I mean, I always inject on my wrist first to test to see like what's going to happen. Like, am I allergic to it? Is something, going to be weird about it?
But what if one of the people viewing your videos doesn't do that? Or what if they get something that's not shipped on dry ice?
I can't control what people do. It's like anything online on the internet. You cannot control people's bad, risky behavior.
But you can't fuel it and abet it either. You can't give them the manual for bad behavior as well.
All right, the one thing that I will say is that I'm happy that you are at least concerned about safety. I'm going to give you that because I know that you are aware of the safety issues. But the reality is, as we've talked about throughout this show, you can't really understand the complications until you've had to take care of them. Julie's whistleblowing efforts, they don't stop with Kim. In fact, she went to the authorities to report a fake nurse who left women disfigured. There are many victims out there. We're going to meet that victim next.
Coming up.
When did you first realize something was going wrong?
She was injecting my face, and I said, I swear, it's like there's rocks under my skin. It's like there's glass shards coming out.
Then...
That 14-year-old girl who loses her nose, how would you feel if that was your daughter?
I will not let a 14-year-old girl into my group.
How do you control that? How do you know that they're being honest about their age?
I'm doing the best I can.
That's coming up.
Fall has finally arrived.
This fall, we're hitting all the health headlines. Ketamine clinics.
These doctors offering treatments were almost glorified drug dealers.
What I'm seeing here is coercion, false promises. This is absolutely stunning to me.
Dr. Daddies. Fertility docs use their own sperm to impregnate patients.
My exact reaction was, oh, that is my mom's fertility doctor.
Is it a crime? In over 40 states, the answer is no.
This goes beyond malpractice. I think it's akin to sexual assault.
The future of medicine. Real-time brainwaves here in a studio. That's remarkable. The doctors.
I tell you stuff like this. That's how you know.
We're on call for fall.
Closed captioning provided by We've brought you inside the world of DIY cosmetic procedures, but there's an even darker side to this trend. Daisha is a victim of an injector who impersonated a nurse. And, you know, you started seeing someone, you trusted them. Why? Why did you trust her?
My best friend at the time has been going to her, and she convinced me that she was really inexpensive and really good. So I went with her.
Tell us a little bit about how this went down. She was operating inside a hair salon. She was renting space in a hair salon. And you told me that she was mixing products and filling syringes in a closet?
Yeah, it wasn't out in front of me in the open. It was, she would go in her closet and drop the syringe and say, okay, are you ready? And it didn't seem very sanitary at all, but it worked.
And so when did you first realize something was going wrong?
After the second time I saw her, she was injecting my face. And I texted her immediately and I said, I swear, it's like there's rocks under my skin. It's like there's glass shards coming out. I was treated for numerous staph infections in my face. And it was...
And what happened to your overall health? Because there's a connection here. Julie, she saw you and you took her blood and you made some discoveries.
When I went to see Julie, she had tested that biomatter was in my blood and my white blood cell counts were highly elevated. So it was reflecting something similar to leukemia or lymphoma.
So Julie, what do you think she was injected with?
So from just what she said, my best guess is maybe some imitation artifill, because did you get the biopsy yet? But we're going to do a biopsy, but I think it's going to be, the results will come back as bone cement. And that doesn't generally go away, so it'll be a permanent problem that she'll have. Probably it'll come out her.
And the fake nurse that did this to you is standing trial right now, and she has a number of other victims that you know as well, and you're treating.
I personally have 4 friends that are a part of the lawsuit, and they've been affected in the same way.
How does your skin feel now?
I still have issues, like get stressed out and my lips start to swell, and people ask me all the time, oh, did you get your lips redone? But really it's probably because I have an infection behind my lips.
And I believe in her lips is silicone, because it's not erasing, and it's been there for 5 years and it still looks the same, so I believe it's silicone.
But there are some things that can be done to mitigate this, right?
We can make it look better, but she is still always going to be prone to perhaps infection, swelling, and lumpiness. So this is a lifetime problems in both of her face and her lip that she's going to have to face.
But you have something you want to tell her. You have some good news, Julie.
Yeah. Our team at Disappearing Act Laser loves you. We adore you, and we want you to have beautiful, smooth skin again. So we are going to offer you, if you want to do it, some laser treatments and BBL treatments for free. And even better, we're going to do it for a whole year.
Dacia, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you so much. We'll be right back.
Coming up.
That 14-year-old girl who loses her nose, how would you feel if that was your daughter?
I will not let a 14-year-old girl into my group.
How do you control that? How do you know that they're being honest about their age?
I'm doing the best I can.
Then
they'll say, this isn't amputation. This is just injecting your skin. Guess what? A septic result from an injection could lead to that amputation.
that's coming up.
We've been spending this hour talking about the scary trend of DIY cosmetic procedures. Kim runs a YouTube channel showing a lot of DIY procedures. And Kim, I credit you for being honest, saying, hey, I'm a mother of 4, I'm not trained, here are potential complications. Having said all of that, complications can and do occur. They occur so much more frequently when you don't know what you're doing. Has anything that you've heard today changed your opinion about these videos that you're posting?
No, because I don't feel like what I'm doing in a way is going to change the outcome of other people's decisions. Like, they're out there, they're doing it because they can find it, because they're being advertised to on Facebook. And so when you watch these other injectable doctors online, they are never talking about the risk potential. And so I think that if we can get more support for the community on safety, I think that that would go so much further, because people are going to be searching it up anyways, and they're going to be buying it.
Let me ask you something. Can I ask her something really quick? I'm sorry. I just want to know something. That 14-year-old girl who loses her nose, how would you feel if that was your daughter?
On my YouTube channel, you have to be 18. So there's a bunch of policies and rules for somebody coming in when I accept them into the group. I will not let a 14-year-old girl into my group.
How do you control that? How do you know that they're being honest about their age?
I'm doing the best I can.
Kim, I can tell you're defiant. You're not going to change your ways. And I would say to you, thank you for not posing as a fake doctor or nurse. But do just always think in the back of your mind that there are going to be complications out there caused by people watching your videos. And if you can sleep well at night knowing that, then that's you. But no DIY treatment is worth risking your life, worth disfiguring yourself. And I just encourage all of you to think twice before you try it. When we come back, we're actually going to have some tips and tricks on things that you can do at home, coming from Dr. Botched and Dr. Orden. I do want to thank all of you for being here today, gracing your journey. Thank you for everything, Julie, that you're doing. And Kim, thank you for coming here and facing the heat today. We'll be right back. Coming up.
They'll say, this isn't amputation. This is just injecting your skin. Guess what? A septic result from an injection could lead to that amputation.
That's next.
If you're ready to win big, join us in our studio audience.
You could be part of the massive Word of the Day giveaway.
And you'll always be surprised. So log on to our website at thedoctorstv.com or call us at area code 323-THE-DOCS. That's 323-THE-DOCS for show tickets.
323-THE-DOCS. Yeah!
This whole show, we've been talking about the dangers of DIY cosmetic procedures, particularly these injectables that are out there. Hopefully everyone watching now knows that it is not safe to do these things DIY, complications galore. Can we briefly just talk about things that are safe for people to do? Because we all want to look and feel good, right?
Right, and so I think what's fueling this movement is we all want to look our best, and we look at these airbrushed, photoshopped photos online in social media, and we think that these are real people with attainable outcomes. And while you can certainly do a number of things to improve your appearance, I just want to emphasize that what you're seeing on social media is not realistic. Those are people who are photoshopping, who are airbrushing, even with all of these very expensive invasive procedures.
And we see these people in
and
our
we
offices
see them. Yes.
without their makeup on, without trick photography. You are right on.
And we get it. We are not cheap. It is expensive to go to a licensed, trained individual who's paying for malpractice insurance and doing this in a sterile environment and buying those FDA-approved products. But believe me, it's worth it. Okay, this is your face, this is your sight, this is your skin, this is your blood vessels. I know in some of these DIY videos, they'll say, this isn't amputation, this is just injecting your skin. Guess what? A septic result from an injection could lead to that amputation. Yes. So a couple things you can do at home that are super safe, that are still very good pharmaceutical grade things to do are chemical peels, for example, that are vetted for safety and self-neutralization. You can even get topical applications of hyaluronic acid, which is what's in the filler, that we know to be sterile, that we know to be absorbed and help plump your skin. There are vetted online retailers that are beauty sites that also have a storefront presence. I think those are always the best way to go.
And we'll put a list of those on our website.
We can put them on, and there are a number of them. So you're not limited to this one place that's going to gouge you. And I get that if you're saying there's no one trained or skilled near me, or it's thousands of dollars and I'm never going to do this, there are still many things you can do that will not take your own health and your own life and your livelihood at risk. So please, please do not inject yourself. Please don't think that just because something looks easy online, that it's viable or safe for you to do. In fact, when we were doing this segment, one thing that it reminded me when I was at Harvard Medical School, I remember I was in training and one of the doctors was so highly skilled and the resident turned to me as a medical student and said, you know, the very best practitioners make it look so easy. And so I think that's what we're seeing now on social media, is you see these things online and they look really easy. Believe me, that doctor I was watching had been doing that procedure for 20 years and told me afterwards that she had had a number of complications in that 20-year reign, because if you do enough of them, you will have complications. Know that those complications exist. Skilled, trained people will know how to treat those complications. Do the safe alpha-beta hydroxy peels at home, the topical hyaluronic acid. Please do not go on these DIY channels and think it looks easy. We're here in the interest of public health. We don't care as much about the likes of social media. We care about your health. That's why we're doing this. Please, please understand our motivation.
And I would just add that piercing your skin with a needle is one of the easiest things you'll ever do. But taking care of the complications is anything but easy. Leslie, another wonderful investigation. Thanks for sharing that with us. We're going to have more information on our website, thedoctorstv.com. Be safe out there, folks. Thanks for joining us.